In my last talk, I spoke about not doing anything. So, whenever I get a comment like, but I have to make a living and my boss is calling and I have to go for work, if I don't do anything, how will I earn money? How will I pay my bills? Then it becomes clear to me that the concept has been misunderstood, or this person has not watched the video but simply reacted to what they read in the title. The concept of not doing or non doing is very simple. It is the attitude that things happen, but there is no individual doer of anything. And as I mentioned in my last talk, this is one of the verses in the Bhagavad Gita also, that there are three modes of activity, three gunas that bring about an action. But the ego, deluded, thinks of itself as the doer. So, non doing does not imply passivity, it does not imply inactivity. Because our mind body organisms are designed in such a way that we cannot be inactive. You will do something or the other. If you are unhappy at work, and usually why people are unhappy at work is because they have a fixed image in their mind of what work life should be rather than accepting what is. So when they live with that image that my work life should be like this, we should have these many working hours, our superiors should be compassionate. Having worked for over a decade in the corporate industry, I understand that we have this fantasy, this image of how things should be. But then the reality of the moment is different. So we feel disappointed. And then we say, okay, I'm not going to do anything and just go home and lay around in my couch and do nothing. That is not what I'm talking about. Because that is doing. You're going home, you're sitting on your couch, and you're avoiding what is. Eventually, the time will come to pay the bills, to make living, for expenses. And then you will find yourself in a difficult situation and you will have to get up and work. Even otherwise, if physical activity doesn't happen or mental activity does not happen, the mind becomes restless. So there is no possibility for inactivity. And I can challenge you, sit for a moment and see how long can you not be inactive. After about 2 to 3 minutes, some thought will start entering into your system, into your space, and then you will find yourself being caught up. And when you continuously live with your thoughts, then you're completely immersed in that suffering. So, non doing simply implies that one does not claim ownership over the action. It doesn't mean inactivity. So, non doing is this concept that my happiness, fulfillment, or peace does not depend on my preferred outcome. So I work, I do the best I can with all the technical knowledge, with all the skill that I have acquired. I do my best, but the outcome is not in my control. I'm not entitled to a preferred fruit. I want sweet fruit, but sometimes I may get sour fruit. And this is again one of the most popular verses of the Bhagavad Gita, that you are not entitled to the fruits of your action. All you can do is act. And action has to happen because life is about action. So when you act with that knowledge, there is something amazing that happens. And that is, you become free of the outcome. So, for example, let's say you work on a project, you spend day and night, and you are convinced that this project will be a success, and you want the project to be a huge success, and you get it. It is a huge success. Now, when that happens, you immediately take ownership over the work. You said, I did it. And in that, you bring about pride and arrogance. Now, pride and arrogance by nature are suffering. So, what happens next time? When the outcome is not according to what you want, the same system, the same image that is built on pride and arrogance will serve you guilt and shame. So, when the failure happens or when things don't go according to your preferences, you experience pain. So, non doing is being effortless, it is freeing. In the sense, there is no resistance to the activity that you're doing. Resistance in the form of how my work will be perceived, how will other people be benefited. It is not in my control. So my value does not depend on what I'm doing. I simply act based on what needs to be done in this given moment, and then I'm free of whatever the outcome is. Ramana Maharishi says, he who thinks he is the doer is also the sufferer. Find out who is the doer, and the reality is revealed, or the self is revealed. When we think that we shouldn't do anything, we should be inactive, which is not possible, that is also doership, because it comes from the assumption that I know what is to be done or not done in this given moment. And I can be as passive as I want to in my life. But the thing is, my body will start revolting. I may just sit at home and watch television or play video games or scroll through social media. But how long am I going to do it? My mind will become restless. That is doership, because you are avoiding what is. You're caught up in what should be. And since what should be, or your preference, what you want is not happening, you shut that down. You avoid the discomfort, the pain of what is, and try to distract your mind, which is doership. So the understanding is that I will act according to whatever the situation brings. And the result of those actions are not in my control. And one of the most popular quotes from Ramesh Balsekar was, events happen, deeds are done, and consequences happen, but there is no individual doer thereof. So this understanding frees you from the burden of shame and guilt, because you don't hold on to past. You don't live in time. You don't live completely identified with the obsessive thinking that I did something in the past. So it frees you from the burden of shame and guilt. So you may have tried your level best in the past to make a relationship successful, to launch your business and make success over there, or to be successful at your job, but that may not have happened. And you understand that it was all a happening and it was not your failure. So you don't carry the burden of shame and guilt. You don't live with this regret that I didn't do my best. You could do as much as the universe allowed you to do. And beyond that, you did not have any capacity to do any work. The understanding, final understanding, is that you have never done a single thing in your life. Everything is a series of happening. It's all interconnected. The cause is the effect, and the effect is the cause revealed. So one thing leads to another thing. A leads to B, B leads to C, and C is B revealed. Cause is the effect, and effect is the cause revealed. It is all interconnected. The notion of a separate you claiming to be the doer in this whole link, trying to change parameters. What if I try to do D? What if I try to do E? So you see, you live in that thinking that what if I tweak this? You know, what if? It's all what if, which is all fantasy, all illusion. So this understanding of non-doing brings you to this present moment where there is this clear understanding that there is nothing that you've ever done, and everything is a series of happening, and they're happening to no one. So this is liberation. This is freeing from the never ending cycle of shame and guilt and pride and arrogance. And there is this understanding that life is not happening to you, life is not happening for you, but life is simply happening through you, and you are just the instrument. What is the basis of life, you will never know, you being the instrument. All you can do is act based on a given situation, whatever the situation demands, based on whatever your thinking is or your understanding is right now about that situation. That is the best that you can do. And that is the best you've always done. So why carry any regret? Why carry any shame for so perceived your actions? They were not your actions. You never did anything. You never do anything. When you realize this, life becomes effortless. You live with more relaxation. You enjoy each and every moment in life. Rather than worrying about, let me fix this, let me fix that, there is greater acceptance towards the natural flow of life, the way it is. And that is liberating, that is freeing.